All right. Thanks, everyone, for joining the Future Proof podcast. My name is Alex. I'm here with Thomas. We are going to showcase his business, Metacoder AI, and we'll just kind of get right into it. So thanks for joining me, Thomas.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. We had a little conversation before the podcast started, and we were just talking about the origin story and kind of the problems you saw in this industry and why you started Metacoder. But let's go into just kind of a little bit of intro about it. So across biotech, speed and accuracy in drug candidate screening is a huge bottleneck. So how big is that gap today for you, and kind of what are you doing to solve that?
So what we've done is we've basically put together a UI-based machine learning platform where within drug development, there's several different milestones that a company would like to hit. And part of achieving getting them from where they want to just a concept to an approved drug, they want to do like attribute modeling, and then they want to make sure that there are no toxicity effects, side effect prediction. So basically, what I kind of done to help streamline that process is integrate a large data set of small molecules and proteins and all the different sort of multiomic entities you could say into that UI based machine learning. So through that user interface, the customer can come to us with either a molecule or protein target and basically do a lot of the analysis from that as a starting point.
Interesting.
So to kind of answer your question, one of the biggest benefits of that integrated data set is just more training data and easy access to that, basically. So, so with that training data, they can use our platform to featurize their molecule or featurize their protein and have it rejoin the process and train on the rest of the data on whatever kind of problem domain target that they would be looking at.
So just like optimizing their data so they can use it a little bit more efficiently and just kind of get it out there and working.
Yeah, so one of the big challenges in machine learning for drug development is just the fact that there are so many different data sources, and in order to use those effectively, it was kind of a big effort just to combine and integrate those all into one source and to have it all keyed and connected the same way. So rather than needing to go hunt and find all these different input sources for any given problem that you're doing and having to do the machine learning, like the set up your compute environment and all the different things that kind of go into the problem setup for any given one target, we've kind of integrated those all into one superset of data and then made that available to the customers basically.
Okay. Interesting. All right. Kind of let's go origin story and kind of like what your problems and what you're trying to solve. What inspired you finding Metacoder AI?
So I was always I was a statistics guy basically at University of Michigan. I was financial engineering and industrial and operations engineering. So I always did have an interest in kind of like regression and classification type problems. And somewhere along the way, I had the inspiration for basically making a no code platform for that type of work. So that's how it all got started back in 2020. And uh, and then kind of moving forward, I had heard about the AI as a use or statistics, let's say, as a use for the drug development and biomedical type problems. And somewhere along the way, I had an advisor, and we'd even looked at doing some SBIR grant proposals for that sort of fusion of an idea between a no-code UI-based machine learning and this, you know, drug development machine learning type problem. And that's where we had started kind of brainstorming. Okay, if we were to do this, how would it work? What would need to be fixed? You know, and then it kind of just kept growing from there, basically.
What were like the biggest limitations that you saw in the current like drug discovery pipelines that you're kind of trying to fix or were trying to fix back then?
Well, I think for me there was just there needed to be more pre-processing and structure to 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 make the problem more accessible, let's say. Like whenever you were starting on a bioinformatic data set, like I remember the first time that my advisor kind of introduced me to a few of the packages, and it's like I open up the files and I was said, "Oh, there's something wrong with this file," and
Yeah.
he's like, "No, well this is this and this is this." So yeah, to me, I think the difficult part was just kind of the introductory curve, and then from there, like I said, the next challenge, and I think a general concept in machine learning is just having more data integrated and more data pre-processed, more data ready to basically train on, the better. And so that first hurdle of getting over understanding what the data sets are and understanding how to combine those in order to make the training set much larger basically was kind of a first step that I saw as being important because when if they were trying to do like a ADMET problem, which is kind of a early phase preclinical type thing that they would do in their process, that would be just one target on a smaller data set. But if they have hundreds of other of those problems and all the data is coming from various different sources, then without needing to redo those setups every time and just to make like kind of one centralized repository of that training data and the interface to kind of use that. Like it wasn't necessarily that I was coming in thinking that I had like a more novel way to featureize any given molecule or any given protein. It was just the fact that I thought that the training data could be like put in a more centralized sort of repository. And then with the tools that I had already previously developed, it just kind of made a natural fit with that where, okay, if we can early integrate all this data and we already had the machine learning type UI um, interface for the customers to be able to use that, then it just seemed like a good fit.
Yeah, I mean, you're just packaging up all their data, getting in a more centralized location just for easier use and kind of just more of a, streamlined process. So that's good.
Yeah, exactly. And the other nice thing is that like the API environment is kind of growing rapidly too, right? So, when people are releasing new featurization models or new binding models or whatever the case, usually a lot of that stuff is open source. So you can like with the centralized data set, you can pretty easily kind of add on to it and it fits the rest of the kind of framework of the platform as a whole, let's say.
So I'm going to talk about that a little more. So why is AI and machine learning especially well suited to kind of fill that gap? Or why did you kind of identify that?
Well, I liked the drug design problem as an alternative to some of the other uses of machine learning currently, because it's do you want to develop something to make a 2% more effective ad or I don't know. There's all sorts of these kind of negative use cases, and I thought that it was a little bit more of a specialized sort of. Not that many people are familiar with machine learning for the pharmaceutical use case, let's say. So I just thought that that would be a good kind of focus for the company. Tend to be, at least historically, more like experimentally focused, where adding some quantitative like assistance to their process could kind of streamline how many experiments they need to do or give them at least some guidance where they might have a large budget to do this experimentation, but getting a drug to market over the whole course of that process, if they can find ways to kind of save on their experimentation time or they can at least get some guidance from the AI, it was kind of a natural fit there because still most of VC-funded biotech companies are behind basically biochemists and more scientific type people as opposed to computer science type people. So the way I was looking at it there was that, there still is plenty of money in the field. I know that it's not as, it's a little bit of a recession compared to how it was a few years ago, but I mean, there's still money to go around, and the fact that we have something complementary to what their core skill set is, that was another reason that I thought it made a good candidate for a focus there. Yeah, so basically they could come to us with either a target candidate or a molecule set of molecules that they would want to analyze. And basically what we can do is we would, they could just upload it through our site, and then we featureize it, give them a brief uh, overview of like the descriptive variables. They can begin by modeling like the attributes, like I said, the ADMET properties, like the absorption, solubility, distribution, toxicity. Those are kind of the early stage sort of things that they would look at, where, like I said, they go from right from the upload to what does it score on any given metric, basically, that they're looking at for that. And then once they have those modeled, and among their molecules, they would kind of probably prune down their set of what they would want to experiment with, maybe at that point. And then using the same platform, we could do like molecule protein binding, basically. So they can, if they start with either the protein or gene target or the molecule, we basically screen for most likely matches that would have that would interact with each other. And from there, it all just the whole system basically feeds back on itself, right? So any of the attribute models that you had developed, you can feed that back into, let's say, a side effect model or a toxicity model or a drug repurposing model, right? So that's kind of the whole idea, is that if you've got this system for predicting the protein or molecular attributes, then it can all basically feed back onto itself into the other models and just use all that data pretty much.
Interesting. It's awesome. I mean, yeah, because I mean, you're having so much data come through it. I mean, you can actually go back and use all the previous data and have it kind of optimize it. So it makes sense to have them look at that. So now, do they get like, is it like kind of like a monthly subscription? Is it a yearly kind of like thing, one time payment? Kind of how does that kind of work?
Yeah, so really what we're trying to do now is partner with biotech companies. So so a lot of times they will come in with their own larger data sets and their own kind of angle of attack on how they're approaching the like drug discovery problem. So what we can offer is basically we make a service level agreement with them that says, okay, we'll basically be your machine learning department, fractional machine learning department, more or less. And then they can send us custom requests, and we try our best to sort of integrate onto the platform as well. Because
Okay.
what we had found is that for people to pilot the platform, it's still not like completely straightforward. So I mean, we have a few different business models, but really we're trying to kind of expand the most as a partner model,
Yeah.
basically.
You're
Because
basically trying to integrate in their business and being that partner and the kind of like a
yeah,
almost
because
a
what a lot of people say is that they say, "Oh, well, it looks good and the statistical results look fine and everything, but how has it been validated, right?" So by partnering with companies and actually being able to like kind of stay with them through that process of getting through clinical trials, phase one, phase two, phase three, it's like that's like the proof in the pudding to biotech people, right? Because like as a statistician, I say, "Oh, well, look, the R square is great." But a, a biotech person, they're really about the final test results, where ultimately that is the most important thing. It's like when you do the either the in vivo testing, or when you actually get to clinical trials, it either works or it doesn't. So this is where um we had kind of seen some feedback, and like for the doing it purely as a software as service, we it doesn't, one, it's not as lucrative as if even a fraction of one of those treatments did all get all the way through approval. And then two, people look at it like there's like the loop isn't closed on the validation of it, basically.
yeah, that makes sense. as it grows and as you guys get older, the more data and everything like that, that you get calculate, maybe that would be kind of an avenue later on that you kind of could go on down.
Yeah, I mean, there are a few different ways. Like we still offer the subscription model. It's just we're kind of trying to steer people towards the partnership model for some of those reasons, just because it gives us a little more skin in the game and it can help validate the system itself. And then the other good thing is that if a customer comes to us with some custom interface to data that they're using, there's a good chance that another customer will too. Like, there's a good chance that they would have a similar interface or similar laboratory sort of data set that they're looking at. So, like, we've got a pretty good coverage of public data sets, but for for the companies that are actually developing the treatments, it would be good to have a good understanding of typically what are they looking at, how do they want to integrate the public data to their process, and just how to kind of service their use cases. Because with only public data, you're limited in a certain way, but when customers or let's say partners are able to kind of interface all their data with all the data that we have, and then we can bridge that gap, then it becomes even more powerful, I think.
Yeah. Um, just so we know and everyone knows that's watching, what's like the perfect client? Like, who are you looking to partner with? I know we talked about biotech, midsize, maybe biotech companies. Are there any other kind of avenues that you guys are really trying to partner with, or is it just kind of strictly those midsize biotech?
I would say it's primarily the VC funded biotech that's working in the either molecule or peptide space for the most part.
Now, how are you how are you getting in touch with decision makers, or starting that sales cycle? How are you really getting your product out to market and really marketing this?
Well, a couple ways. So over the past couple years, I've attended a few conferences basically, and that's always a good avenue to meet people in the industry. Within Michigan, even there's a handful of like biotech meetups in the area, and then I was just at ARDD this past year, which is in Copenhagen. Yeah, so I mean conferences, and then in terms of the online stuff, we use LinkedIn, but we're still exploring ways to get more, direct channels because people don't often, there's a lot of spam on LinkedIn, so it's tough to actually get to people directly. But we had fished out some large lists of these biotech companies, and we pretty much just end up reaching out to them on LinkedIn and do the best we can with that.
Interesting. Okay. Awesome. Now looking ahead, kind of, you guys have came, quite a far away from 2020 or whenever you started, back then. I know that it was a little bit before 2020, but, next couple years, kind of where do you guys want to grow? What do you see your vision as, and kind of where do you see yourself in like end of 26?
Yeah, I mean, I think I want to continue to like if you think about the problem space as a whole, you've basically got like a knowledge graph of biomedical elements. Let's say if you could call a molecule a biomedical element or a protein a biomedical element. Ideally, what we want to do is we just want to have that graph as well connected as possible and as thoroughly featureized as possible. So for any pair prediction problem or for any attribute prediction problem, you can use that directly through the site. And then, as I was saying earlier, to build out all the other custom use cases that our clients would be seeing, and to be able to grow that client base, because ideally, if in a year, let's say, if we can get a handful of partner clients that we're working with actively, then we would have revenue coming in and also a few points and potentially some valuable biotech companies. So
Nice.
we really want to expand that partner pipeline, and yeah, just continue kind of filling in the system as a whole, adding resolution to any of the given models, because I know that that's something that is going to be more important as we go forward. But yeah, it's kind of just how thoroughly can we featureize everything, and how thoroughly can we connect all the knowledge graph elements from a technical standpoint, and then from a business standpoint, growing our partner base as much as possible in the next year.
Okay. Awesome. Well, if a biotech exec is listening, and wants to evaluate Metacore, what should they ask and how can they get in touch with you?
They can get in touch with me through email, tguttenby@metacoder.ai. And if you're coming with a molecule or protein or peptide that you're interested in doing screening on or doing any of the attribute modeling with, that's definitely something that we can handle. And I'm ready to build out as many custom use cases on top of the public data that we already have integrated as well.
Awesome. Well, yeah, I'll put your contact information and then the links in the description. But yeah, man, I really appreciate you taking your time out tonight to talk to me. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you, Alex. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Thank you. Bye.
All right,
All right.
cheers.
Well, awesome, man. Thanks for taking time out of your night tonight to